eye to eye. He's about to blow me away. And then all of a sudden he uncorks his 94-mile-an-hour slider that darts across the zone. And there is no way anybody's catching up to that.
Right. He's breaking your knees. That's the original. Never mind basketball with the broken knees. No, Randy Johnson is the official knee breaker.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I love watching. I love watching 2 and 3 pitched pitchers. I'm tired of seeing guys throwing 1.5 pitches.
I want to see a guy come into everybody should come into the league with no less than 3 pitches.
Absolutely, unless you're a knuckleballer, then you're allowed to have 2. Because that knuckleball is going to screw people up all day.
The knuckleball is like 4 pitches by itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Even as a pitcher, you have no idea where it's going. It's going to get called. It's going to go somewhere. That's all we know.
Okay, so we only have a few minutes left. I want to get into this real quick. And this is a steroid story. This deals with, remember Tony Mandarich from a while back?
Yeah, absolutely. Played for Penn, right?
The guy was a beast. Sorry. Now, Tony Mandarich, he's included on a list of the biggest busts in the NFL draft history. And he says in his story, it's a cautionary tale for NFL scouts who struggle to identify the top prospects coming out of college, but for the NFL players who struggle with substance abuse. Now, Mandarich said in a long interview with ESPN that the major challenges for him in the NFL were getting off steroids, which he says he used during college but never as a pro. And I find that hard to believe. But now, and getting off of painkillers was a bigger problem here. He struggled for years and years. And he said, quote, I would take 40, 50, 60 painkillers a day and drinking. Mandarich said of his career in the NFL. So he wasn't doing roids, but this guy was on painkillers, mad amounts. I'm surprised he's still living today. That's unbelievable. When he arrived in Green Bay as the second pick overall in 1989, and he only played 3 seasons. And imagine what his kidneys and his liver is like at this point. I mean, look, he says, Mandarich, he also said that much of his success at Michigan State, and there's Michigan State again. Hold on, we got to give something to Michigan State and that Dylan Alexander character. Right, so he says when he was at Michigan State, a lot of his success was a result of steroid use. I wonder who else is doing it. And he said that he decided when he got to the NFL that he'd stop using roids because of the NFL testing. And he says, quote, the testing I felt was too hard. I didn't want to even talk about it, so I just didn't do them. But he also said that he lost only 10% of his strength when he got off roids. It was a very different game. What are your thoughts about that?
It's the roids thing that's in one category, and we can get to in a later show. The painkiller thing freaks me out. Yeah. You know, as somebody who struggled with painkillers in high school and college, I'll tell you right now, they are the hardest thing to kick, and you feel terrible for the guy. And yes, you're going into these games so juiced up, and so you're still wonked out. You don't feel pain. You don't feel like somebody smashes you in the mouth. You're not going to feel it, and you just keep rolling. But the damage it does to your body is insurmountable. So good on him for fighting back on it, and good on him for getting off the kick.
All right. Big applause to him. And that's going to do it here for the Sports Circus for today. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, for Rocky. And we'll see you next time right here on the Circus. Maybe a special guest tomorrow. You never know, folks. Make sure you tune in tomorrow right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone. Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935, or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
It's time for Age of Being 2020 with Barbara Matthews, a show about successful aging, helpful services, and simplifying the complicated with practical solutions. And now, here's your host, Barbara Matthews.
Welcome to Age of Being 2020. I'm here to help you and your family solve the challenges of senior care and aging. Are you having trouble walking? Do your legs feel stiff? Not standing as straight as you used to? Do you have a slight tremor in your hand or your chin? These are all symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Yes, it's the disease that actor Michael J. Fox has. And today we're going to be talking about the symptoms of the disease, where to find help, and wonderful new therapies that are helping people stay active for longer. My guest is a registered nurse, Cindy Davis, who not only brings a wealth of important information, but also facilitates a support group at the Murrieta Senior Center in the city of Murrieta, a support group that helps both patients and their caregivers understand the disease and manage it to the best of their abilities. She's going to tell us about the latest research findings and the other sources of reliable information about Parkinson's disease. You know, each year, 60,000 Americans are diagnosed with Parkinson's. And by 2020, which is next year, the number of people living with Parkinson's in the United States will increase to 1 million. So Parkinson's is not the most prevalent disease in the country, not like cancer with 1 million new cases every year, or heart disease with 500,000 new cases. But it is very important for older adults to know about, because you need to know if the stiffness is arthritis or if it's something else. So let me introduce you to Cindy Davis. She's been a registered nurse in Southern California over 20 years, working in hospitals, home health, community outreach, and hospice. For the past 9 years, Cindy has facilitated a Parkinson's disease support group. She brings a wealth of experience from working with patients and their families, practical tips for living with the disease, and the latest updates in medications and therapies. So, Cindy, welcome.
Hello.
Great to have you. Let me ask you, first of all, Cindy, what is Parkinson's disease?
Well, I'm going to give you basically a definition for it. And Parkinson's disease is a progressive nervous system disorder. It doesn't have a cure, and what is treated is, the focus of treatment is symptom management. So this disorder is focused in the brain on the neurons. The neurons are the nerves, and they break down. And the nerves that break down with Parkinson's are the ones that produce dopamine.
So the same neurons always break down every time?
Over time, yes, of course.
Over time, okay.
That's why it's a progressive disease. So it starts with a minor symptom, and you may have, as you mentioned, it may be as small as a finger that tremors, that is just moving, that is not tapping, moving, that is not something that you're deciding to move that way. It's just doing it on its own. It may be that when you walk, you no longer swing your arms. Another really early one is the rigidity that you mentioned.
Okay. Let me go back to Parkinson's disease being a chronic disease. What does that mean?
Well, it's not truly a chronic disease. A chronic disease means it's ongoing. You may have arthritis that's chronic, and it's just not really going to go away. You're going to have arthritis. You may manage it better some days than you do others. It's a progressive disease, which means that it starts with minor symptoms, and those symptoms will get, not only will they get worse, you will get additional symptoms as time goes on. So the disease will progressively progressively increase.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. And what are the main symptoms? I think you've already mentioned some of them, the tremors, the rigidity, anything else?
Well, there are the main ones, not even main, let me rephrase that. The primary, the first ones that you're going to see could be a tremor. It could be rigidity. It could be impaired balance. It could be what they call bradykinesia, moving very, very slowly. It can be, like I mentioned, you don't swing your arms. If these things are noticed by you or your caregiver, you should have your physician first check it out, and he will probably refer you to a neurologist.
So this is significantly different, or can be, or if it's Parkinson's very quickly, it will become different from arthritis. There will be more rigidity or a slowing of movement, not solely from the pain, but just from the degeneration of the brain. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And there are many other symptoms, and there are non-motor. The motor symptoms are the ones that are most famous, and that is the shaking, like you see with Michael J. Fox. With some people, they never shake, but what they do is they will just freeze. They won't be able to take that next step. They won't be able to move their arm, and they'll just have to wait for a moment until it releases, and then they can go ahead and move. Over time, your speech gets impacted. You have a flat affect. That means your face doesn't show the expressions that it tends to show normally. Then there's memory and cognition impact. People can experience hallucinations. Sleep is impaired. Delusions can happen. There's a whole complex number of issues, but what's really important is that every single person presents a little differently. There is no from A to B to C to D. Somebody may have A, and then they may have G. Somebody else may never have A or G. They may only have F and C. So it is an extremely individual disease.
But you're saying typically the first symptoms that one might notice is the shaking?
Not true shaking, more a quick tremor. It may not be ongoing. It may become and go. And it may just seem just a little bit off to you, but it may happen more and more frequently. Like I said, it could be your finger taps. It could be that your arms don't swing when you walk. It could be that you are moving very slowly. You're talking more slowly. Your balance is impaired. It's not as it normally is. All those things would say, I need to get checked out.
Okay.
And it could be that those things are indicative of Parkinson's. Parkinson's doesn't have a blood test where they can say, oh, yes, you have Parkinson's. Actually, what they do is evaluate your symptoms until you get this group of symptoms that tell them, okay, what we're looking at here is Parkinson's.
So if you're having any of these symptoms and you go to your doctor, should you go to a specialist or should you start with your primary care physician?
Most people have insurance policies that want them to go to a primary first. So you could go to a neurologist first if you have the insurance that allows you to do so, but you can just go to your primary as well, and they'll probably send you to a neurologist. But if indeed you do have a Parkinson's diagnosis or you have these symptoms, I would suggest going to what is known as a movement disorder specialist. These people are neurologists, but beyond the general neurology specialty, they have another specialty that focuses on movement disorders, and that could include multiple sclerosis. It does include multiple sclerosis. It does include Parkinson's disease. So they have a great deal of additional training that is specifically focused on these movement disorders.
So there is not a quick and easy test that your primary care physician would do. He may evaluate your movement, but if I understand you correctly, you want to request having an assessment by a neurologist, in particular a movement disorder specialist, who knows how to properly evaluate the presentation of the various symptoms that one is experiencing to make that determination. Is that correct?
That is exactly correct.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. I think I would be depressed with
That is certainly one of the most, and that is common among most, virtually all, chronic and progressive diseases. Depression is a big factor, and treatment is the normal treatment. Psychotherapy often helps people, and they have medications for depression. Although certain medications with depression for Parkinson's disease patients, not all can be used with Parkinson's disease patients, because sometimes there's an interaction with the medication that they're taking for Parkinson's disease. So again, the movement disorder specialist has to be your go-to person.
Does one inherit Parkinson's disease or have lifestyle factors that may cause one to develop it?
There is no direct inheriting of the disease, but there is an increased likelihood that you may have the disease if you have a close relative who has had Parkinson's. So that is a possibility. It is not directly related. If your mother had it, does not mean that you will have it. But if your mother had it, you have an increased likelihood that you will have it. The risk factors are age. Usually, if you're over 60, you're more likely to develop Parkinson's, although there is an early onset version of Parkinson's, but it is a lot more rare. Men have it about 20% more chance of it than women. It's about 60% of patients are men and 40% are women. And there is exposure to toxins, environmental toxins, they think has something to do with it, but they don't know exactly how significant it is at this point. There's a lot of testing going on with that at this point.
So developing typically after we turn 60 is another one of those joys of aging, the golden years being tarnished.
That is true. One needs to keep your eye out for anything that seems abnormal for you. And everybody is different. So what is abnormal for you will probably need to be checked out.
Do we know why men get it more often than women?
Yes. There's a gender component here, and it's about 60% men, 40% women. There are theories that very early there may be a bacteria in the gut. There's a higher level of some bacteria, a lower level of others, that seems to indicate long before one develops the symptoms of Parkinson's that, yes, this person is at significant risk for Parkinson's. Again, there's not a direct test. This is ongoing research that's being done. Constipation often occurs. It virtually always occurs with Parkinson's patients. And often that is one of the symptoms that goes unnoticed for years before Parkinson's is actually identified, because it's so hard to tell what is the cause.
Cindy, we're going to be going to break in just a moment. Where is a good source of information on this disease for the listeners? Is there a website or a phone number?
The San Diego Parkinson's Association is the closest one to us. Riverside does not have one, and San Diego is a little closer than L.A.
Okay.
The San Diego Parkinson's Association, their number is 858-273-6763.
Say that again for us.
858-273-6763.
Okay. 858-273-6763. Wonderful. And I have a note here that there is a robust website, www.parkinsons.org. Is that still a good site?
I know there's a Parkinson's .net. I'm not sure about the org.
Okay.
I don't know that for sure, so I cannot answer that.
Okay. I think there's an org. Maybe there's a net as well. But good. All the information possible is helping. Okay, when we come back, I'm going to ask you if this disease seems to be increasing. So we're talking with Cindy Davis, a longtime nurse and volunteer with the Parkinson's organization. She has been facilitating a support group for 9 years, and we'll be back with her in just a moment.
You've been listening to The Age of Being 2020 with Barbara Matthews. We'll return right after this.
Hey guys, this is Andrew Caravella. Just wanted to let you know that KCAA has a new listener line for all of you that have a phone. Now you can listen to KCAA in the grocery store, in the doctor's office, or when you want to pretend you're on the phone with someone just so that creeper will leave you alone. Call 720-835-3099 today and listen to your favorite KCAA radio shows. That number again, 720-835-3099. KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no caller or listener behind.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email CEO@kcaaradio.com.
Why are you listening to this radio station? Why? When you can host your own radio show. You're listening and you think you can do better? You have a message or a product you want everyone to know about. Host your own radio show. Team up with the area's best radio professionals and let them make you sound like you should be on NBC. KCAA NBC Radio, that is. KCAA produces more than 50 local programs each week on subjects ranging from business and sports to political talk, vegan diets, or even marijuana-related issues. We don't just broadcast on the radio, we broadcast to the world. Online, on TV, on social media, on Facebook. You'll be all over. Imagine what your friends will say. And KCAA reaches over 5 million people on 3 radio stations. Join the staff on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. NBC Radio. Jump on the KCAA Express. Call 909-793-1065. That's 909-793-1065 and get ready to transmit.
Hi, we're talking with Cindy Davis, registered nurse and 10-year worker in Parkinson's disease. Cindy is facilitating a support group. We're going to be hearing more about that in just a moment. But as Cindy and I have been talking about Parkinson's disease, its symptoms, and how to request a test from your physician to determine if you have the disease. I want to ask you, Cindy, does this disease seem to be increasing?
Well, I think, yes, there are more and more people diagnosed, and nobody really knows why that is, and it could even just be because we have a larger population that's aging.
Okay, and that's typical of many other conditions as well.
Yeah. It is.
What are some of the most common concerns among the families that you work with, especially in the support group? I would imagine, well, let's see, now you've mentioned depression. So, what do families say about this? Are the caregivers, certainly a spouse and family members, would be so discouraged from the progressiveness of the symptoms? But what other kinds of issues, in addition to the depression, do you find families dealing with?
Well, as it is a progressive disease, caregivers become overwhelmed with the needs that they have to help their loved one with. So they'll come to a point where they'll need help with just activities of daily living, dressing, eating. So it just requires more and more and more time. They get weaker and weaker. It takes more physical strength for the caregiver to actually help. There is tremendous risk for falls. In fact, virtually all Parkinson's patients will fall at some point, and then getting them up is a very difficult thing. Can they even do it? Do they need to call the fire department for help, which often is the case? It's just an overwhelming and all-consuming part of the caregiver's life as time goes on. And there are things that the medications can help, and the earlier one starts taking them, the more effective they are in slowing down the progression of the symptoms. As I said, it's a symptom management situation. So the medications are very helpful to slow down. And usually because this is a problem with the dopamine production in the brain, the first go-to drug is the replacement for that dopamine. They're trying to get more dopamine into your brain, but there is a block in your brain called the blood-brain barrier, and it's hard to get medications across that. So some of the other things they use are an agonist, and that helps actually inhibit some chemicals that stop the dopamine. So that it's a kind of a complex group of medications that they work with to get the best effectiveness for each individual person.
What does the dopamine do?
Well, dopamine allows for smooth muscle movement. So as you have less and less dopamine, your muscles have more and more trouble moving at all. So it starts with maybe the finger and the arms, but then it goes to the internal organs. So people have speech impact because the muscles that enable you to speak have more difficulty. You have difficulty swallowing at some point. That's part of the problem with the constipation. All those muscles that squeeze and push things through your system are no longer working as effectively as they used to work. And the medications help, but also exercise helps, and music helps.
Music.
They've found that people put music on that they're familiar with, and they will start to walk more smoothly. So listening to music and walking and trying to dance to it is a really effective method of helping that doesn't involve the medication. There's something called rock steady boxing that has been phenomenal for patients at all different levels of impairment. Become stronger and have a better quality of life because of that strength.
You said rock steady boxing?
Yes, rock, and there's one in Temecula, and there's a couple in San Diego, it might be one in Escondido, and it has become just a rage with Parkinson's patients. It's just very effective for them.
All right, so I'm imagining is one, what do they call that, shadow boxing?
Well, actually, it's movement and stretching, and they have the big things that hang. I don't even know what they're called for boxers that they hit, the leather bags and the big leather column things.
Okay.
And it just helps with the coordination and with the strength. There is somebody one-on-one with you. They help at all different levels. In addition to that, there's physical therapy and speech therapy and occupational therapy that is specifically trained for Parkinson's. It's called Big and Loud. And that is, not all therapists are trained in this, but many are and more are all the time.
Big and loud.
Correct. So that encourages big movements because you want to start moving slowly. That's why the writing gets so tiny. It encourages big movements and it encourages you to speak clearly and loudly.
So how interesting. Okay, so we would look for a physical therapist who is trained in these therapies?
In Big and Loud.
In Big and Loud. And rock steady boxing.
Yes.
Being a progressive disease, how long can an individual expect to live with this condition?
It's so individual. There is no real prediction. It's a very, very individual disease.
But there's no cure?
But there is no cure. There's only symptom management, and it is progressive. It will continue to get worse over time.
Mm. So one of the concerns of families, of all of us as we get older, is putting our financial affairs in order. Do families with Parkinson's need to be concerned about when they would put their affairs in order because of the progression of this disease?
Absolutely, and it is wise for everybody, but definitely for people with Parkinson's. Because there is a cognition and memory component of this disease, it's important that you make your advanced health care wishes known early on while you have the ability to make choices, and you can let your family members know what your choices are, and you can have them written down so that they will be followed. In addition to that, one of the problems as time goes on for probably about 15-20% of the patients is impulse control, and that is sometimes they can't stop shopping. They just are spending money, and it's something that they would never do under their own normal behavior patterns, but with this disease and with their particular reaction to it, they may be out of control, and they can send their family into destitution. They can have nothing left. So all those things, having a financial person designated, all those things are really important early on.
Is impulse control much like obsessive behavior?
Yeah, so you have a lack of impulse control. It could be gambling, it could be shopping, it could be any number of things.
Sex, eating?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Sexual behaviors will become extreme, much more than normal. That puts it from that particular problem, all those impulse control problems, put a particular strain on relationships.
So should a family foster as much independence as possible with their loved one who has this disease, or try to be as caring and there as possible?
Well, I think it's a combination, but one doesn't exclude the other. So it's absolutely imperative that the person do as much as they are physically capable of doing, because as long as you can do any given activity, the stronger you'll be in that activity and the longer that will remain with you. But it's also important, of course, to have that emotional and caring support, but not to the point where you are doing things that they should and can be doing for themselves.
Tell us about your support group. Is this something every family dealing with Parkinson's should become involved in? Is it for the person with Parkinson's, or is it for their family or their caregiver?
Our particular Parkinson's disease support group is, we have about 50% people with Parkinson's and their caregivers, spouses, children, friends, whomever that they are close with that is involved with their lives. They all come, and they are all welcome to come. We meet at the Marietta Senior Center on the fourth Wednesday of every month except November and December.
Fourth
from 1
Wednesday,
o'clock
what
to
time?
3 o'clock.
I'm sorry, what time?
1 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
And what kinds of things do you do?
So we have, generally speaking, we have, initially we have a speaker for the first part of the program. And we have examples are, we have Dr. Filateo, who is a neuropsychologist out of San Diego. We have physical therapists. We have people who are insurance experts who can help you with insurance, whether it be Medicare or an HMO or whatever type of insurance you may have, Medi-Cal. We have speech therapists. We have Rocksteady Boxing. We have doctors who are movement disorder specialists come and talk to our group. Nurse practitioners who work with those physicians will talk with our group. We have Dr. Cochran, who works with hospice, come and talk with our group. And we have, we actually have had the fire department emergency medical technicians come to help you decide, yes, we can call the fire department if somebody falls and we can't get them up. Absolutely call the fire department. They have a team that works for people with that need.
Is there a cost to participate, Cindy?
Pardon me?
Is there a cost to participate?
No, it is free. It is absolutely free.
That is awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Cindy. That is wonderful information. And again, you meet the fourth Wednesday of every month from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Marietta Senior Center.
Can I give you their address quickly?
Quickly. We're wrapping up.
5 Town Square, Marietta.
5 pound square Marietta. Thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next week for Age of Being 2020.
You've been listening to The Age of Being 2020 with Barbara